for joining me for part 2 of my monthly Hero Arts kit from February 2019. This is an add-on stamp set and frame cuts as well called Decorations, and I will be using this for the 6th card. Here I am gluing with Gina K's Connect glue the vintage window frame onto the background, and I'm just going to speed it up a bit for you as I go along here, and I'll get it nice and well adhered. I'm adding a couple of gold strips that remained from the vintage window frame cut to the right and the left and the bottom of the card front, and I'm using the Gina K Connect glue to apply it. The background card here is Tonic Studios Craft Perfect Glitter Card in Tropical Tide. Butterfly stamp from the Decorations kit, which was an add-on kit. I'm going to add 2 different embossing powders. One is Brutus Monroe Mermaid Lagoon, and I heat embossed it. The second one was the Judikins Iridescent Sparkle, which you'll see has a beautiful shine and sparkle to the embossing on the butterfly. Here I'm die cutting the butterfly using the Altenew Mini Blossom die cutting machine, using the frame cut that matches the stamp. And I am adding a thank you sentiment from the same stamp set. And I'm going to again use the Versamark ink, which is a sticky type of ink. It's more like a little bit of a glue texture to it, and it helps with the embossing powder stick to the stamp itself. So now I'm going to place some 3M foam tape, which gives it a little bit of dimension so it doesn't lay flat on the card front. So it gives it like a little extra pizzazz, if you will. I'm finishing up with the butterfly, getting it all together. I'm going to place it on the front of the card front at this time. Hi, Daphne. She's a good girl. Very sweet dog. Let's see, she was a rescue. Just tell you a little bit about her since you hear her little jingling going on. She may be whining soon. She's a rescue dog, like I said, and my son's friend brought her over to us to sort of take care of her for a couple of months while he looked for an apartment. And of course, we have her now for 2 years, and he's already moved into an apartment, but she's basically ours now. And we love her dearly. Okay, so I have to do cleanup as I go along. I'm using my tweezers there to place the butterfly onto the card front. Here we go. I have to center the card front so the butterfly is nice and straight. There she goes. Daphne's whining. Sorry about that. Here I'm showing you that I'm placing, Brutus Monroe had these adorable ladybug stickers. It's a 3D sticker, and I placed it at the 5.5 mark where I would score my cards. And I'm using my stylus, which I will list below as well, to score it at 5.5. It's a top folding 4.25 by 5.5 inch card using the Nina 110 pound. Here I'm adding fun foam onto the back of the card front, and then I will be using my Nuvo Deluxe glue, and I am placing everything onto the card front, and this is basically the completed card. I hope you like it. Next, I'm showing you, if you recall, that I had placed, I had pieced pieces from this particular colored cardstock into the frame cut that came with the kit. I put in there the blue that was cut out of this frame onto the cutout that was in the gold, was a gold glitter. So I ran it through my Xyron machine, which basically makes everything into a sticker. It leaves a sticky film in the back of the papers that you run through this machine. It's basically a little bit of a flatbed in the back. You put in the paper, you crank it through, and it sandwiches the paper in between a glue base and a clear top, which you saw me pull away. And I'm just basically cleaning it up a bit because it leaves sometimes a little bit of sticky webs in between if you don't get it all pressed with the stylus. So I'm just basically getting that all cleaned up so it doesn't get all over the front of the piece with the lady and gentleman that I had used peacock feathers, Distress Oxide ink to stamp, and then I embossed it with clear embossing powder so it remains with the color that I used in the ink. I centered it over the top and I'm burnishing it down so it's nice and flat. That was the back piece that the actual die cut was on. I'm getting all the last bit of glue off, getting it nice and flat, making sure it's adhered properly. There we go. Looks good. No, I'm still getting that glue off. Sorry folks, but this is reality. It's not completely perfect, but it gets there, hopefully. Okay, so now I'm going to take that piece. I'm going to get the top folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch base. I'm going to apply that card front on with some, I believe it's my Xyron. Yes, it's my Xyron Mega Runner. Love this stuff. It's got a tape inside that has little dots of glue, and as you roll it along, it leaves the little dots behind. And it's great because it does adhere well, but if you change your mind or you stick glue in the wrong place, you can literally rub it off with your fingers and it'll come off. So that has saved me many times. So not only is it a mega runner, it's mega wonderful. So there's different, I think ThermoWeb makes that type of a glue runner as well. So there's several companies that do make that dotted glue runner. Okay, I do clean up as I go along. In case you haven't noticed, this is just something I do. I feel the need to clean up because I hate to be done a card and then look around me and find a mess everywhere I look. So I hope you bear with me. I do take a little time and do that. So here I'm basically applying some 3M, Scotch 3M foam tape to mount up the sentiment, which I cut out of Nina Solar White 110, I think it's the 80 pound, I'm sorry. And I just basically place this foam tape on the back. I take the backing off of the foam tape and then I center it onto the card front, and voila, it will be glued down momentarily. I have to adjust the tape there so it's nice and flat. And there it is. Hey there, doll face. I must say this kit was really lots of fun. I love the saying. I didn't use every saying or every sentiment, but the ones I chose were fun. You know, hey there, doll face. It's what he's telling her. You know, maybe he's about to propose. Who knows? We all use our imagination. Here I'm using the Gina K Wreath Builder squares. I believe they come in 3 1/4 and 4 inch squares. They're 2 different sizes. And the wreath builder that you see there is that plastic piece that has all the corners in it. That is a wreath builder from Gina K Designs. I'm going to use it for the next card. I'm picking out, I believe, the radio here. I'm going to center the radio onto the square, and then I'm going to take a few of the notes that are in the stamp set there, They're little note stamps, and I'm going to add them to all 4 corners, and that's what the wreath builder does. It actually has 8 corners there to make a completely round wreath, but I'm going to use it to make it 4 corners and just do a square so that I have 4 corners covered with these little notes. So I'll be applying these notes and we'll be right back. All right, so here I'm centering the radio, and the notes have been applied to the corners to the right there, making sure the radio is completely centered. And I'm going to pick up the notes and the radio. Going to be using, I believe, the Gina K Amalgam ink. Making sure it's completely straight. I guess it was a little off kilter. There we go. All right, so we're applying the Gina K Amalgam black ink. We're just going to stamp down onto the little square there. You have the musical notes will be on the right hand side. Pardon my head there, I was just making sure that I was getting a good amount of ink on there. Her amalgam ink, like I've said before, Gina K Designs amalgam ink is amazing. I actually just ordered, she has 5 other colors, I believe, that she came out with. I look forward to using those. So here I remove the radio, and I'm going to spin the square all the way over clockwise, and I'm going to stamp the musical notes 3 more times, as you can see here. And this, like I had said before, this wonderful kit is very, has a lot of variety to it. I enjoy the era of the 1920s. I had mentioned that my mom was born in 1922. And my brother-in-law had a radio just like this. I think it was his mother's, actually, and it was really neat. It had like Bakelite, I believe, on the radio itself, so it was a culmination of Bakelite and wood, and it was really beautiful. It was just so streamlined and beautiful, and it worked fabulously. So, I mean, I don't think they have it anymore, but I do remember that radio. I colored in the radio on the card front, and I simply used the Nuvo alcohol markers. It's a 3-set marker kit. Here I'm using the Delicata ink. I simply applied it to the edges to give it added color and glitz all the way around. It's a beautiful, shiny, almost looks like there's glitter in the ink itself. It's a pigment ink, which takes a little while longer to dry. It's a thicker consistency. And I'm just looking for placement on the card. The card base I used here is a Hero Arts Hero Hues collection, which is called Earth Mixed Folded Cards, and I also have the envelopes as well. And put it in the supplies list. This is a architectural fluted piece from the stamp set that was included in the kit. It's really pretty. It also looks like it matches quite well with the radio itself and the architecture of the radio. I'm going to place the sentiment in the inside of the card so that the outside is basically the focal point. And on the inside, I chose let's party like it's 1922. And I'm also using the Delicata ink in the golden glitz. So I'm just lining up the sentiment, going to pick it up with the Precision Press. The Precision Press Advanced Lid. I'm showing you the Delicata ink there. Placing lots of ink. And I'm applying the sentiment I'm going to re-ink it again so that there's plenty of ink and you can see it quite clearly. And I don't need to emboss this, although you can, or what's pretty also is to use perfect pearls in the gold. It just kind of shines it up a bit more. And there you have it. I'm going to pull it off of the stamper, and there's the card. There you go. Here I'm placing the 100-pound Nina premium heavyweight cardstock in the black. I have my 5.5-inch score there on the 4 1/4 by 5.5-inch card base that I'm making, and I'm smoothing out the fold with my bone folder. And I'm just basically made a base for the card front here using the ballroom window die, and I'm showing you that that's the name of that die and the die itself. And I also used the Deco in the City bold prints in the background behind the window, and I used the confetti dies, confetti mix that came in the kit. I'm going to put on either side of the front panel the reflective gold cardstock. I had a little bit left, and I'm simply using the Tonic 6-inch guillotine cutter to cut the piece in half, and I'm going to place them on either side. Just showing you the placement, and I'll basically put a tape onto the back, which is called score tape. It's double-sided sticky tape. I placed it on. I placed the thank you sentiment onto a piece of My Favorite Things vellum, which I embossed with Brutus Monroe gilded embossing powder. I placed a white piece of paper on the interior for a sentiment to add later. The final card, I used a floral motif from the Decoration stamp set, which was an add-on stamp set, and the sentiment Happy Birthday. I'm going to give it a second stamping with the Versamark ink. Here we go. And I am going to use the Brutus Monroe gilded. Oh yes, here we go. I did forget to use the anti-static bag, the anti-static powder bag. So I'm going to re-ink the stamps with the Versamark and re-stamp them. It's the way it goes sometimes. In the midst of concentrating on making the card, just sort of forget a few things. But it, you know, it all works out. Okay, so now we have our stamping with Versamark, and now we're going to emboss, heat emboss with the Brutus Monroe gilded embossing powder. I'm going to show you that I'm going to just use the lid, place the embossing powder over the Versamark on the front of the card. I stamped directly and embossed directly onto the card base, and I'm just basically showing you the heat tool and showing you how the embossing powder melts, wiping it down with my rag there, get all the powder off. I use the vintage window die, and I'm going to put the Gina K glue there, and I'm going to just basically put it all the way through, get a nice coating all the way around. I love this Connect glue. It's just wonderful. The tip is nice and thin, and it's a strong, quick drying glue, and it's fairly new, and it's wonderful. I use it for almost everything. There we go. I'm applying it onto the front of the base of the card, and there it is. Thank you for joining me. I hope you subscribe to my channel and share my videos as well. I appreciate your time. Until next time, blessings. Bye-bye.